This video will demonstrate the steps for putting together the Vision Cage shelves. There are several different shelving units, all of which are assembled in the same way. This video may not show your specific size shelves. Thoroughly read through the instructions and watch this entire video before starting to assemble the shelves. Unpack the shipment and make an inventory of all the parts. If any parts are missing, contact customer service right away. Do not try to assemble the shelves if there are parts missing. 2 people are necessary to assemble the shelves. A 9/16" wrench or small crescent wrench. The wrench will be used on the tightening bolts. Step ladder. You may need a step ladder to reach the tightening bolts in the tops of the vertical poles. Small level. A level is needed to straighten the support poles vertically before tightening the braces. The following is a list of parts for Vision Cage shelves. The numbers and sizes will be different for each model, so the pictures that follow may not match your specific shelves. Vertical riser poles. These are the vertical supports for the shelves. There are 2 types of poles. Lower poles will have a 3/8" female threaded insert in the bottom end, and a 22mm female threaded end at the top, not an insert. The upper poles will have a 22mm male threaded insert on the bottom, and a 3/8" female threaded insert in the top. Spacers. The spacers will define the space between the shelves. There are 2 sizes of spacers. There will be many longer spacers that will be used along the length of the riser poles. There may be a few spacers, 1 for each riser pole, that are shorter than the others. These spacers will be used at the top of the shelving unit. Tightening bolt and washer. This 3/8" bolt and washer will be used at the top of the riser poles to hold the shelves together. Wheeled casters. These will be installed on the lower end of each pole. There are 2 locking casters that should be installed on the front corners of the shelves. Shelf. All of the edges of a shelf have an upturned flange to prevent the cages from sliding out. The 6-foot shelves have a reinforced double bend on the front edge, and 3 riser pole holes in the back edge. Braces. The braces will attach to the sides and back of the unit with U-bolts and wing nuts. Place one of the cages on the floor and set one of the shelves on top of it with the flanges pointing up. Determine which of the corners will be the front of the shelving unit. The 6-foot shelves will have holes only on the corners of the front edge. The front and back edges of shorter shelves are identical, so just choose one side as the front. Locate the bottom riser poles and insert them through the holes in the shelf with a 3/8" female insert oriented down at the floor. Thread the bolt on a caster into each of the 3/8" threaded inserts at the bottom of each pole. Make sure to install the locking casters on the front corners of the shelf. At this point, there will be a shelf on a cage with riser poles that each have a caster installed. Refer to the spacer chart in the assembly instructions to determine the number of spacers your specific model will have between the shelves. Slide that number of the longer spacers down each pole to rest on top of the shelf. Slide the second shelf down the poles until it rests on top of the spacers. This will require 2 people. Lifting the poles at both ends of the unit, raise the shelves enough to move them off of the cage, and then set the unit onto the floor. This will require 2 people and one person will need to stay in place holding the shelving unit in position from this point forward. Braces will be installed between the poles on the sides and back of the shelving unit above the bottom shelf. The flat side of the braces will face out. The flanges will face into the shelves. Each brace will be installed so that the left end of the brace will be high and the right end of the brace will be low. There is no other way that the braces can be oriented. At this point in the assembly, the shelves will be very wobbly, and the poles will need to be held by one person while the braces are installed. The braces will be installed now in order to make the shelves stable for the rest of the assembly process, and then adjusted at the end to straighten the unit. Each end of a brace will be secured to a pole with 2 U-bolt assemblies. Starting on the right side of the shelving unit, hold the side brace in position against the front and back poles while the person holding them steady positions the poles as vertically straight as possible. It is not important for the poles to be perfectly straight at this point. Just keep them close to vertical. Install the U-bolts in both ends of the brace, but do not tighten the wing nuts. The bend of the U-bolts will be inside the pole, and the threaded ends passing through the holes in the brace. Place a wing nut plate over the ends of the U-bolt, and then thread a wing nut onto each bolt end. Do not tighten the wing nuts. Install all the U-bolts and wing nuts on the first brace, but leave the whole assembly very loose. It should move freely. Install all the braces on the shelving unit in this way, working around from right to left, leaving them all very loose. If you have a 6-foot shelving unit, there will be 2 braces on the back. The last brace installed will be the last side brace. Return to the first brace that was installed. While the person holding the pole steady keeps the front and back pole as straight as possible. Lift the brace up so that the bottom end wing nuts are clear over the bottom shelf, and then tighten all of the brace's wing nuts to finger tight. Move to the brace or braces on the back of the shelves. Straighten the poles, lift the brace, and tighten the wing nuts. Finish this step on the remaining side brace. Now the shelving unit can stand on its own without needing to be held. The 22mm male end of the upper poles will thread into the 22mm female threaded top ends of the bottom poles. Install an upper pole onto each of the bottom poles. Install a set of spacers on the poles over the second shelf. Slide the third shelf into place over the spacers. If your unit only has 3 shelves, you can go on to step 5. If your unit has more than 3 shelves, repeat the sequence of installing spacers and shelves until all the shelves are in place. Place the remaining spacers on the poles over the top shelf. If there is a set of spacers that are shorter than the others, place those at the top of each pole. Thread a tightening bolt with a washer into the 3/8 inch female insert at the top of each pole and tighten them to finger tight. Install all of the tightening bolts. Use the wrench to tighten each of the tightening bolts in the top of each pole until it is hard to rotate a spacer in the middle of the pole. The shelving unit is steady, but the vertical poles may not be perfectly straight. Start the process of straightening the shelving unit at the right front pole. The side braces are supporting the front to back vertical position of the poles. Hold the level against the front or back side of the front right corner pole and check to see if the pole is straight. If the pole is not straight, loosen the wing nuts at the upper end of the brace attached to that pole. For the front poles, there will only be one end of a brace attached to it. Push or pull the pole back and forth until the pole is vertically straight. And then tighten the wing nuts to a firm finger tight. The back braces control the left to right vertical position of the poles. Move the level to the left or right side of the back corner pole on the right side of the rack. This is the pole attached to the side brace that was readjusted first. If the pole is not vertically straight, loosen the wing nuts at the upper end of the back brace attached to that pole. If the shelving unit has two back braces, loosen the wing nuts on the upper ends of both back braces. Push or pull the back pole or poles with the loosened braces until they are straight, and then retighten the wing nuts until they are firmly finger tight. The last brace to be adjusted is a side brace, so place the level on the front or back of that pole. If the pole is not straight, loosen the wing nuts at the top end of the side brace. Then straighten the front and back vertical position of the pole and retighten the wing nuts. At this point, all the poles should be straight. Use the level to double check, and if any are not straight, loosen the upper wing nuts attached to that pole and adjust it again. After the braces have been installed, the amount of wobble will be greatly reduced. There may be some sway in the unit when it is moved, but the shelves will be very stable. If you ordered an optional second set of braces, they should be installed like the first set, but located in the section above the second shelf. There is no need to adjust the poles for straightness after the optional braces are installed. Each brace has pre-drilled holes for installing the optional power strips. Install the power strip on the brace where you want it located by inserting the bolts through the holes in the ends of the powered strip and securing it in place with the wing nuts. This completes the assembly of the Vision Cage shelving unit.